Okay, is this on? Alright, good. I want to tell you about my life and the strange things I've seen, but before I do, I want you to understand something. That my actions in the end definitely had their reasons, no doubt. Okay. I was born to a single mother. She was only around 15 when I was born and wasn't exactly ready to be a mother. And apparently, my dad was even less ready, because his parents ended up sending him to boarding school so he wouldn't have to be responsible for me and my mother. We were both mostly supported by our parents, but otherwise, we were completely alone. I started discovering my gift when I was about 5 years old. My great-grandmother had passed away. I'd felt very confused when I walked into the viewing room of the funeral parlor and saw my gran sitting in a chair next to her own casket. At that point, I already grasped that death meant that you were gone forever, but yet, there she was. My confusion was overpowered with my relief. Approaching her, she seemed different. There, but not quite the same. Like when you're picturing something in your head, your eyes are open and you're clearly seeing what's in the room, except something entirely different at the same time. She whispered in my ear, kissed my forehead, and then disappeared. I walked up to my mom and asked her about the roses in Italy, as Grant had instructed. To this day, I still don't know what that means, but it must have been important enough to make my mother fall to her knees. She held me, and it was the only time that I remember feeling like she truly loved me. As I grew, my gift became a little more apparent. I'd see people I wasn't supposed to see in everyday situations. A few would even notice and follow me home. I didn't mind. None of them ever imposed or tried to harm me. They just wanted company until they figured out how to move on or till they found someone that was more interesting to follow around. Look at me, I'm talking as if this is a normal thing. Anyway, my mother put forth no effort to stop me, but still acted embarrassed when I did it around other people. No one took it seriously though, not like Mom did. Honestly, I think she even feared me for a while. When I was about 8 years old, things had changed. It was all due to Mom meeting a man named Mike. He was lanky, smelled bad, and talked too loud. Still, he had a more stable job than Mom did, so she fell right into his lap. He wasn't a horrible guy at first, just kind of greedy. But Mom told him about my gift, and he came up with the master plan to use me as a pay pig. Post my name up in the phone books as the world's youngest psychic. I don't know if he even believed my gift was real at first, but he learned otherwise eventually. Definitely. And yeah, that's how I started talking dead people in a living world when I was just beginning to learn multiplication. It was fun at first. Believe me, it was fun. When it wasn't the same old tell my mom I love her bullshit. However, there was a case when I was 13 where I was seeing a family who believed the spirit of a 4-year-old girl was haunting their house. They claimed that they didn't intend to make the girl leave, they just wanted to learn more about her so they could make her more comfortable in their own house. When I walked in the house, though, there was definitely no little girl. There was, however, a gray, non-human entity crouched on their 17-year-old son's back. Its skin looked like paper, and its eyes were fully blood red. It came in a human-like shape, but trust me, it was far from human. These non-humans are something I call sixes. Sixes are souls that were never human. They're created out of pure sorrow and hatred. They're negative emotion embodied into an evil spiritual being. They can project their actions of human spirits to confuse their hosts, make them think they're just victims of a normal haunting. However, that's not the case. Human souls cannot hurt you unless they're extremely sinister, like Bundy sinister. Sixes, however, can, along with several other non-human entities. But they can suck every emotion out of you and radiate so much of their own hatred and sorrow until you either kill yourself or commit a crime so terrible that you'll likely get the death penalty anyway. They usually go after the evil, the corrupt, or just some plain miserable people. The reason why they're called sixes is because you usually only last 6 months before you lose it. I think I started resenting my mother when I was around 16 years old. I had gotten tired of the job. I mean, who wouldn't? Everyone in town knew me. All the kids at school called me a freak. And by this point, Mike had started to drink away all the money the people had paid me, only to tell them that their grandmother loved them or that their dead child was in a better place. But because of his drinking habits, he became violent, angry. He would hit my mother, and she just took it for a while. Then, she would blame me. If you never would have started talking to fucking Casper, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation. Completely ignoring the fact that he was her boyfriend, not mine. Not long after that, he stopped hitting her and started hitting me. Then, she did as well. Only months later did I start seeing sixes roaming around wherever my parents were near. I watched this without a word, still allowing them to escort me to jobs. At first, the sixes would stay far away. I'd see them out the window and across the street. But they'd creep closer and closer as time went on. Very slowly. My curiosity heavily outweighed my fear. I had only seen them on people's backs, so I was very curious of how this was going to come about. But I became a bit more startled when they just stood at our windows. They knew I could see them, but they disregarded me. I said nothing to my mother the day I watched one crawl into our back and latch its gaping teeth onto her shoulder. And I wasn't surprised when I saw another on Mike's back later that day. Believe me when I say this, I definitely thought about telling Mike and my mother to call up a specialist and help get rid of the sixes that had only just begun to drain my sad excuse for a family. But then I thought about finally being alone. Never having to do jobs that they told me to do. Never being subjected to a drunken lecture about my responsibility or to support the family crap. Never explaining my bruises to my teachers. So, I didn't tell them. I just sat back and enjoyed the show.